Supreme Court's urgent call for action on homeless rehabilitation. Supreme Court calls homeless mental health crisis deeply concerning, demands urgent government action. The nation's highest court didn't mince words today when confronting government officials about the plight of mentally ill homeless individuals across the country. We have laws on the books, but where's the actual implementation? Where's the follow-through? Justice Mehta pointedly asked federal representatives. In a hearing that highlighted the growing humanitarian crisis, the Supreme Court addressed a public interest litigation case seeking comprehensive rehabilitation solutions for one of society's most vulnerable populations. The bench, comprised of Justices Vikram Nath and Sandeep Mehta, made it abundantly clear that they consider this matter very serious and sensitive, language that signals the court's intention to prioritize this often overlooked issue. Additional Solicitor General Brigender Chahar, representing the union government, informed the court that federal authorities are actively discussing potential solutions, with multiple meetings currently underway. He requested an 8-week extension to submit a detailed progress report on the government's plans. Justice Nath's response was unequivocal. You need to take it very seriously and resolve this in as little time as possible. Advocate Gaurav Kumar Bansal, who initiated the public interest litigation, presented a stark assessment of the situation. He described how homeless individuals suffering from mental illness are essentially being treated like footballs, passed between different agencies with no one taking ultimate responsibility. Though he apologized for the blunt metaphor, Bansal elaborated on the systemic failures. The law clearly mandates that police stations must take specific actions to assist with rehabilitation. Many of these vulnerable individuals are women. Unfortunately, we're seeing persistent negativity from law enforcement, coupled with a severe shortage of adequate rehabilitation programs for these citizens. Justice Mehta responded, assuring that the bench expects a comprehensive response from the central government addressing all aspects of the crisis. We will monitor this case closely, he stated, adding, we will try and take it to its logical conclusion. A commitment that suggests the court intends to ensure meaningful reform rather than allowing the issue to fade from public attention. But here's where it gets particularly troubling. When the additional Solicitor General attempted to reference the Central Health Authority established under legislation passed in 2017, Justice Mehta interrupted him with a challenge that cuts to the heart of the problem. Acts are there, Mr. Chahar, but where is the execution? Where is the compliance? This pointed question highlights the frustrating gap between legislative promises and on-the-ground realities that's plagued social welfare initiatives for decades. The litigation names not only the federal government, but also includes all states and union territories as respondents, recognizing that addressing this crisis requires coordination across all levels of government. The court has scheduled the next hearing for September 22nd, when government representatives will need to demonstrate tangible progress on this pressing humanitarian issue. The case, officially titled Gaurav Kumar Bansal versus Union of India and ORS, WPC Nos 198, 2025. Represent a critical opportunity to transform how our society treats its most vulnerable members. Do you believe the government is doing enough to address the mental health crisis among homeless populations? Or is this another example of well-intentioned legislation failing at the implementation stage? Share your thoughts in the comments below, especially if you've witnessed this issue firsthand in your community. Supreme Court slams government over rehab of homeless with mental illness. Urgent action needed. Here's a sobering reality that often goes unnoticed. Countless homeless people struggling with mental health conditions are left to fend for themselves on our streets, virtually invisible to society. But here's where it gets controversial. Many believe we already have laws and policies meant to help them, yet not enough is being done in practice. And this is the part most people miss. Without an effective rehabilitation framework, those with psychosocial disabilities can easily become trapped in an endless cycle of neglect. In a landmark move, the Supreme Court recently urged the central government to treat the rehabilitation of homeless individuals with mental health issues as a matter of utmost urgency. A 2-judge bench comprising Justices Vikram Nath and Sandeep Mehta is to line just how delicate and vital this issue is, not only from a legal standpoint, but also from a deeply human one. During a hearing in New Delhi, the Center's counsel maintained that discussions were already underway, with official meetings being held to address the crisis. Nonetheless, the justices responded firmly, emphasizing that time is of the essence. You need to take it very seriously and complete it in as little time as possible. The case at hand stemmed from a petition filed by advocate Gaurav Kumar Bansal, who is seeking robust policies to ensure the rehabilitation of homeless individuals suffering from psychosocial disabilities. For beginners who might find the term psychosocial disabilities confusing, it basically refers to the difficulties faced by people living with mental health conditions, compounded by societal discrimination and a lack of supportive services. It's not just about an internal struggle. It's about encountering everyday obstacles that can prevent them from integrating into the community. If you've ever seen a homeless person on the street who appears distressed or disoriented, there's a good chance these barriers are working against them every single day. Interestingly, the Supreme Court had already issued notices to relevant government authorities back in April, but according to Bansal, a comprehensive response, or even a proper counter-affidavit, was still missing. This raises questions about how much urgency is really being placed on an issue that impacts so many vulnerable lives. Although the center's lawyer pointed to ongoing deliberations and referenced the Mental Health Care Act 2017, the bench made it clear that merely having legislation on the books is not enough. Where is the execution? Where is the compliance? The petitioner vividly described the dire conditions homeless individuals face, saying they're often kicked around like footballs. Such imagery underscores the everyday indignities they endure. Bansal also highlighted an important, though often overlooked concern. Many homeless are women, who can be especially vulnerable when law enforcement and service agencies have no proper framework to help them. If you want to spark debate, here's a point bound to provoke different opinions. Is it the lack of existing laws that prevents effective rehabilitation, or is it the failure to enforce them that truly stands in the way? The Supreme Court bench signaled its intention to stay attentive to this matter, remarking that they expect the government's next steps to be as comprehensive as possible, especially in terms of specific protocols that can bring real change on the ground. When the center returns to court, the justices intend to keep monitoring the issue and pushing it toward a logical conclusion. The light at the end of the tunnel, at least for now, might come in the form of more refined standard operating procedures, SOPs, for frontline stakeholders like the police, healthcare practitioners, and social service departments. As many argue, consistent and humane application of these SOPs would go a long way in bridging the gap between legislation and real-world outcomes. The next hearing is set for September 22nd, and people from all sectors, legal experts, mental health advocates, and especially the homeless themselves, are waiting to see whether the government's response will finally match the pressing needs on the ground. One lingering question remains. Do we need tougher enforcement of existing laws, or should we seriously rethink how to deliver mental health care and social support in a more holistic way? Share your thoughts. Do you feel the current framework is adequate, or is a more radical shift necessary? Let us know what you think in the comments.